You think you stumbled upon this message by accident. You imagine it was just another moment of scrolling, another recommendation that popped up, another coincidence in an ordinary day. But what if I told you that nothing about this moment is random? What if every choice, every step, every so-called coincidence that brought you here was deliberately arranged, not by chance, not by an algorithm, but by a version of you that already knows where you are heading? Pause and let that sink in. Because what you are experiencing right now is not just a video, not just words on a screen, it is a signal. A signal that your consciousness has reached a point where the future no longer whispers from a distance. It calls you directly, here and now. For years, you've been taught that life is a chain of accidents, a linear sequence of causes and effects beyond your control. You've been told to wait, to hope, to accept the struggle as natural. And maybe that's why you sometimes feel stuck, like life is happening to you rather than through you. But what if the truth is far greater? What if the reality you've been waiting for isn't in the hands of chance, but in the vibration of your own being? The ache you've carried, that feeling of being out of place, of sensing there's something more, something hidden just beyond the veil, is not a flaw. It's a compass. That restlessness in your chest, the quiet voice that whispers there must be more than this. That is your future self, reaching back, urging you to remember what you already know. And here lies the solution. You don't have to force attraction. You don't have to beg reality to shift. You don't need to struggle, chase, or prove yourself worthy. All you need is to tune, to align with the frequency of who you are becoming. The moment you do, life stops feeling like resistance and begins to flow with effortless precision, as if reality itself has been waiting for your permission to reveal its true face. This is not about learning something new. This is about remembering. It is about awakening to the truth that has always been written into your very essence. You are not separate from creation. You are creation. You are not trapped in time. You are shaping time. And right now, your future self is calling you to wake up to that truth. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you for a small but powerful gesture. If these words are resonating, if something inside you feels an undeniable yes, then pause and comment 111 right now. That number carries the vibration of new beginnings, alignment, and synchronicity. By writing it, you're not just leaving a comment. You're declaring to the universe that you are ready to align with the frequency of your true path. And if you haven't yet, I invite you to subscribe. Not just to a channel, but to this movement of awakening, to this frequency of understanding that has already found you. Because every time you return here, you'll be reminded of who you truly are and of the future that is already unfolding through you. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next will challenge everything you thought you knew about time, choice, and the nature of reality itself. This is where the old story ends, and where your true journey begins. Since childhood, we've been taught to see reality as a straight line. One moment follows another, causes produce effects, and the future is a blank canvas that hasn't yet been painted. At school, in science, even in the way society is structured, this perspective is reinforced so often that it begins to feel unquestionable. You wake up each day believing that what happened yesterday determines what's possible tomorrow, and that you are bound to march forward in this predictable sequence. This is what we call classical reality, and though it has served as the dominant framework for centuries, it has also imprisoned countless souls in a story that is far too small for what they truly are. Imagine being told your entire life that you are just a passenger on a train that only moves forward. You cannot step off, you cannot influence the direction, and you cannot glimpse what's coming next until it arrives. That is the hidden weight of classical reality. It teaches you to wait for circumstances to change, to wait for permission, to wait for evidence that your dreams are possible. And while you wait, a quiet ache grows inside, the sense that you are meant for more, yet trapped in a system that insists you are powerless. The cruelest part of this illusion is how reasonable it sounds. After all, isn't time something we measure with clocks and calendars? Isn't consciousness just neurons firing in the brain? Isn't every event simply the effect of something that came before it? Classical reality convinces you that meaning, purpose and miracles are just stories we invent to comfort ourselves. It strips existence of mystery, reducing your life to chance and survival. And when you accept this worldview without question, you cut yourself off from the very essence of your power. But deep inside, haven't you always felt a tension between this story and your lived experience? Haven't there been moments that seem to defy the rules, coincidences too perfect to dismiss, flashes of intuition too accurate to ignore, dreams that felt more real than waking life? Those moments are cracks in the facade of classical reality. They are the whispers of a deeper truth pressing against the walls of the old story. Quantum science has exposed those cracks and widened them into doorways. We now know that at the most fundamental level, reality does not behave like a rigid machine. Particles exist in many possible states at once until observed. Events can influence one another across vast distances without any physical connection. The future can ripple backward and touch the present in ways that classical physics cannot explain. What does this mean? It means that the story you were taught, the story of a cold, deterministic universe where you are merely a bystander, is not the whole picture, and this realization is both liberating and terrifying. Liberating, because it reveals that you are not powerless. Terrifying, because it means you must take responsibility for the role you play in shaping reality. No longer can you hide behind the excuse that life just happens. Once you see through the illusion, you understand that life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. And that subtle but profound shift changes everything. The pain so many people carry, the cycles of struggle, the patterns that seem unbreakable, the constant feeling of chasing something just out of reach, is not because they lack ability or worth. It's because they are living inside a map that denies the existence of their true territory. They are trying to navigate reality with outdated instructions that say the future is something they must wait for, instead of something they are already co-creating in every moment. Classical reality is the greatest lie told to human consciousness, not because it is completely false, but because it is incomplete. It describes only the surface, the measurable, the obvious. But beneath that surface lies quantum reality, a reality where your awareness is inseparably connected to the unfolding of existence, a reality where your future self is already reaching back to guide you, a reality where miracles are not exceptions, but the natural language of consciousness. To remain trapped in the old story is to live with an unshakable sense that something is missing. But to pierce the illusion is to discover that you were never meant to be a powerless passenger on the train of time. You are the observer, and by observing, you are the creator. You are not waiting for life. Life has been waiting for you to wake up. Now that the illusion of classical reality has been unmasked, we can finally step into the revelation that shifts everything. Consciousness is not a passive observer of reality. It is the very force that shapes it. Modern quantum discoveries have revealed that the universe is not a fixed stage where events play out independently of you. Instead, it is a field of infinite possibilities, a living matrix of potential outcomes. And your awareness, your observation, your very act of being present is what collapses those possibilities into form. Consider the depth of this truth. Reality is not something rigid and external, separate from who you are. It is fluid, dynamic, responsive, constantly reshaping itself in accordance with your state of being. Every focus of attention, every emotion, every spark of thought becomes an imprint on the quantum field. The universe is not indifferent to you, it is in constant dialogue with you, rearranging itself in response to the frequency you emit. This is why mystics across cultures have always insisted that the world is not out there, apart from us, but within us, inseparably connected to the consciousness perceiving it. The observer and the observed are not two. You are not standing at the edge of creation, looking at something separate from yourself. You are woven into creation, and your observation alters what is observed, not symbolically, but literally. And here is where the awakening deepens. This creative power does not confine itself to the present moment. In the quantum field, time is not linear. Past, present, and future are not neatly separated, but interwoven, coexisting like layers of the same fabric. This means your future self, the version of you that has already stepped into the life you long for, is not waiting in some distant timeline. That version already exists, broadcasting signals back to you in the form of intuition, synchronicity, and inner knowing. Those coincidences that leave you stunned, those sudden ideas that arrive fully formed, those intuitive nudges that push you toward choices you cannot logically explain, these are not accidents. They are the echoes of your future reality reaching into the present moment. They are proof that creation is not a one-way street. You are not merely moving toward the future is also moving toward you. When you awaken to this truth, you stop experiencing life as something that happens to you and begin to experience it as something that happens through you. You no longer wait passively for change. You recognize that your frequency of awareness is already shaping what is to come. You stop asking, "What will happen to me?" and begin asking, "What am I choosing to align with right now?" The more coherent your inner state becomes, the clearer your reality mirrors back that coherence. The more fragmented you are within, the more fragmented your external experience feels. This is not punishment, but precision. The field is exact, responding not to your words or wishes, but to the vibrational signature of your being. The quantum awakening, then, is not about mastering techniques, rituals, or formulas. It is about remembering. Remembering that your future is not something you must force into existence, but something already present, waiting for you to resonate with it. And once you understand this, you can no longer see reality as linear, random, or fixed. You see it for what it truly is, a living, breathing conversation between consciousness and creation. Every thought you think, every choice you make, and every emotion you feel carries more weight than you've ever imagined. They are not simply fleeting moments in your inner world. They are signatures, quantum imprints that ripple through the very fabric of existence. Scientists call them interference patterns. Mystics call them energy fields. But in truth, they are the vibrational codes that write your reality. Picture it like this. Each time you think, feel, or act, you are striking a note in the symphony of creation. Alone, a single note may seem small, but repeated often enough, it begins to define the entire melody of your life. This is why you keep encountering certain patterns, certain experiences, certain kinds of people. Because your quantum signature is broadcasting them into being with unerring precision. On the mental layer, these signatures appear as flashes of insight, ideas that seem to come out of nowhere, or recurring thought patterns that color the way you see the world. On the emotional layer, they reveal themselves as subtle inner currents, a sense of knowing, an attraction toward specific paths, or even a heaviness that keeps you bound to the past. On the physical layer, they manifest in your body's reactions, the way you tense around certain people, the way your heart quickens with possibility, the way you feel either energized or drained when you step into a space. And on the energetic layer, they form reality anchors, points of resonance in the field that begin drawing toward you the exact conditions needed to crystallize your future. This is why some people seem to move through life with ease, while others, equally intelligent and hardworking, struggle endlessly. It is not luck, nor destiny, nor accident. It is alignment. The invisible code of creation is always running, always listening, always responding. And whether you are conscious of it or not, your signatures are broadcasting at every moment. The invitation then is not to create signatures, because you already are. The invitation is to become conscious of what you are broadcasting. To notice the difference between thoughts recycled from your past limitations and insights flowing from your future self. To feel the distinction between emotions rooted in fear and those born of expansion. To recognize when your body is echoing old patterns and when it is vibrating with possibility. This awareness is what transforms unconscious creation into deliberate creation. And here lies the most empowering truth. The moment you begin aligning your quantum signature with your highest self, reality has no choice but to reorganize around that frequency. The field does not delay, it does not negotiate. It simply mirrors back what you are in resonance with. So if you feel a deep recognition stirring as you hear this, if something inside you is whispering that you've always known this truth but never had words for it, take this as your confirmation. You are ready to step into conscious creation. And before we move forward, I invite you to subscribe. Not as a casual click, but as a declaration to yourself and to the universe. I am choosing alignment. I am choosing to remember. By subscribing, you are anchoring this new frequency, staying connected to the reminders that will help you walk this path with clarity and strength. Most people live as though the future is a distant shore, something they must paddle toward with great effort, hoping currents of luck or circumstance will eventually carry them there. But quantum reality turns this entire perspective upside down. Your future is not a place you stumble upon. It is an intelligence that is already reaching back to you, shaping the very path beneath your feet. It is not separate, not passive, not silent. It is active, alive, and constantly weaving threads of guidance into the fabric of your everyday life. Think of those moments you've brushed off as strange coincidences. The friend who called just as you were thinking of them. The unexpected opportunity that appeared exactly when you felt most discouraged. The words you overheard from a stranger that seemed to answer the question weighing on your heart. These aren't random accidents. They are deliberate markers, breadcrumbs scattered across your path by a version of you who has already arrived at the destination you're longing for. Your future self is not waiting. It is sending signals back through the quantum field, urging you to align with the timeline it already inhabits. This dialogue doesn't always speak in grand, obvious ways. More often, it whispers. It comes as an inexplicable pull toward a book you wouldn't normally read, a sudden urge to change your routine, or a gut feeling that makes no logical sense but feels undeniably right. It comes in the form of synchronicities, those uncanny patterns that show up again and again until you can no longer dismiss them. When you start noticing repeating numbers, recurring themes in conversations, or signs that seem to echo your inner thoughts, you are witnessing the fingerprints of your future self guiding your present. But this connection is not a one-way street. It is a dialogue, a living feedback loop. Just as your future self sends ripples of guidance backward through time, your present choices send ripples forward, shaping the possibilities that future self can embody. Every decision you make now, every moment of trust, every act of alignment, strengthens the bridge between the you of today and the you of tomorrow. With each step of courage, the signal grows clearer. With each act of doubt, the signal weakens, but never disappears. The dialogue is patient. It waits for you to tune in. And this is where many people falter. They dismiss intuitive nudges as imagination. They rationalize synchronicities as chance. They silence the voice of their future self because it speaks a language that doesn't fit neatly into logic. But logic is the language of classical reality, and your future self speaks in the language of resonance. If you want to receive the guidance, you must learn to feel rather than overthink, to sense rather than analyze, to trust rather than demand proof. Over time, as you lean into this dialogue, it becomes less like trying to decipher hidden messages and more like listening to a familiar voice. You begin to realize that what you once called intuition is actually the wisdom of the self you are becoming. What you once dismissed as coincidence is actually a map. What you once thought was random is, in truth, the choreography of time itself. When you live in this state of awareness, fear of the unknown begins to dissolve. You no longer need to control every variable because you understand that the intelligence of your future self is already orchestrating the dance. You walk with a quiet assurance, not because you know every detail of what lies ahead, but because you trust the one who does, the self who has already walked that path and is reaching back to guide you forward. And here lies the great paradox. By listening to your future self, you are not waiting for destiny to unfold. You are co-creating it in real time. You are not being pulled into a life that is foreign to you. You are being guided into the life that has always been yours. To navigate this dialogue with your future self, you must first develop a new kind of sensitivity, what we can call quantum literacy. Just as learning a language allows you to understand words that once sounded like meaningless noise, learning the language of the quantum field allows you to distinguish between random mental chatter and the profound guidance being broadcast through your consciousness. Most people assume that all thoughts, emotions, and inner impressions belong to the same category. But quantum literacy reveals that there are, in fact, different streams of information flowing through you at any given moment, each carrying a very different quality of energy and creative power. When you learn to recognize these streams, you unlock the ability to choose consciously which frequency you will amplify. The first stream comes from your conditioned past. These are the repetitive thoughts, the recycled emotions, the familiar loops that seem to play on repeat. They are born from your upbringing, your culture, your old wounds, and your personal history. This stream is heavy, predictable, and often limiting. It convinces you that tomorrow will look exactly like yesterday because it can only echo what has already been. When you live from this stream, your quantum signature broadcasts nothing new, and your reality simply mirrors back the same patterns you've always known. The second stream arises from present moment awareness. This is direct perception, unfiltered by memory or fear of the future. It feels fresh, alive, immediate. When you're fully present, when you're absorbed in music, art, or the beauty of a sunrise, you touch this stream. It allows you to respond to life with clarity rather than reactivity, to act with precision rather than compulsion. This is the beginning of true alignment because it connects you with what is actually unfolding right now, free from distortion. The third stream comes from your future self. This is the most subtle, but also the most transformative. It arrives as sudden insights, as intuitive nudges, as visions or feelings that seem to exceed your current understanding. It often feels paradoxical, impossible on the surface, yet deeply true on a level beyond logic. These are the whispers of your future guiding you into alignment with what is waiting to be born. When you recognize and follow this stream, you collapse the distance between who you are and who you are becoming. Quantum literacy is, therefore, the art of discernment. It's learning to tell the difference between the echo of your past and the invitation of your future, between noise and signal, between recycled thought and fresh awareness. Without this skill, most people remain trapped in old cycles, mistaking the voice of conditioning for the voice of truth. But with it, you step into mastery. You begin to consciously choose which frequency to embody, and the field responds with remarkable precision. At first, this practice may feel subtle, even confusing. You may wonder, is this thought just my imagination, or is it my future self speaking? The key is to notice the quality of the information, not just the content. Past conditioning feels heavy, repetitive, restrictive. Present awareness feels clear, calm, expansive. Future wisdom feels luminous, inspiring, impossible, yet irresistible. Over time, you will come to recognize these distinctions instantly, like a musician who can identify a note after hearing only a single tone. When you cultivate this literacy, life begins to transform. You start to see that synchronicities are not rare accidents, but constant signals. You notice how often guidance is offered and how often it has been ignored. You realize that the universe has never been silent. You are simply not attuned to its frequency. And with this recognition, you step into a new role. No longer a passive receiver of reality, but an active translator of quantum truth. For as long as most of us can remember, we've been conditioned to believe that achieving anything in life requires struggle. From an early age, the message has been clear: if you want something, fight for it. If you desire success, chase it relentlessly. If you dream of change, work until you are exhausted. Society glorifies this path of endless striving, teaching us to measure our worth by how hard we push, how much we sacrifice, and how tirelessly we grind. Yet, beneath this cultural script lies a silent truth. Forcing does not create, it resists creation. Why is this? Because forcing comes from the assumption of lack. When you force something, you are essentially declaring to the universe, I don't have this. I need to make it happen. That signal of lack, no matter how determined or disciplined, broadcasts through your entire being. And in the quantum field, the frequency of lack can only attract experiences of more lack. You can repeat affirmations, visualize for hours, or perform countless rituals. But if the underlying vibration is desperation, the field will mirror that desperation back to you. Remembering, however, changes everything. Remembering is not about pretending or wishing. It is about aligning with what already exists. In the quantum view of reality, your desired future is not a fantasy waiting to be manufactured. It is a living possibility already encoded in the field. When you shift from forcing to remembering, you stop fighting against what is missing and begin resonating with what has always been present, just beyond the veil of your awareness. Imagine the difference between someone furiously rowing a boat upstream and someone who suddenly realizes the river itself is flowing toward their destination. Forcing is the first scenario, exhausting, desperate, and often futile. Remembering is the second, a surrender to flow, a recognition that the current already knows where it's going. When you remember, you do not abdicate responsibility, you embody a different kind of responsibility. You become responsible for your state, your coherence, your alignment, and once those are calibrated, the river carries you. This is why so many people experience breakthroughs not when they fight harder, but when they finally let go. Think of the artist who produces their greatest work only after abandoning the pressure to be perfect, or the person who finds love the moment they stop searching obsessively. In these moments, they shift from forcing to remembering. They stop sending signals of fear and lack, and instead inhabit the frequency of what they desire. And the field, with mathematical precision, responds. Effort does not disappear in this model, but it is transformed. It becomes inspired action rather than anxious striving. It arises naturally, flowing from clarity rather than compulsion. You might still work long hours on a project, but the energy behind those hours is different. It feels expansive rather than constrictive, exhilarating rather than exhausting. The work itself becomes a form of remembering, a way of embodying the reality you already know is yours. This shift also dissolves the toxic myth that worth is tied to suffering. Forcing teaches you to equate pain with progress, exhaustion with success. Remembering teaches you to equate alignment with progress, coherence with success. It asks you to release the idea that the universe must be wrestled into submission and instead recognize that the universe is a partner eager to collaborate. 2. Live from remembering is to stop asking, how do I drag this into existence? And begin asking, how do I allow what already exists to reveal itself through me? It is the difference between commanding reality and conversing with it, between demanding and allowing, between control and trust. And here lies the paradox. When you stop trying so hard to force outcomes, the outcomes begin to flow toward you. The job offer appears when you embody the confidence of someone already thriving. The relationship emerges when you live in the frequency of love rather than longing. The opportunities align when you stop grasping and start receiving. This is not passivity. This is mastery. It is the recognition that the real work is not external manipulation, but internal alignment. The moment you choose to remember who you already are, the future no longer feels like a distant dream. It feels like a homecoming. You begin to sense that you're not trying to create something foreign to you, but rediscovering something deeply familiar, something your soul has always known. When this realization dawns, life transforms. The panic of striving gives way to the peace of presence. The desperation to make it happen dissolves into the confidence that it is happening. You stop living as a beggar at the gates of destiny and begin walking as a rightful co-creator of reality. And in that shift, you discover that remembering is not only easier, it is infinitely more powerful. There is a mysterious, often uncomfortable space that every awakened being must pass through. The space between the self you have been and the self you are becoming. It is a bridge, suspended between two worlds. The familiar world of your current circumstances and the unformed but undeniable world of your future potential. I call this the frequency bridge. On this bridge, life can feel paradoxical. Inside, you know something has shifted. Your awareness has expanded. Your desires feel clearer. You sense that your old identity no longer fits like a garment you've outgrown. And yet, when you look around, your external reality still reflects the echoes of who you used to be. The bank account may look the same. The relationships may not yet reflect your inner transformation. The environment may still mirror old patterns. This can create deep doubt, making you wonder if your inner growth is real at all. But this tension is not failure. It is proof that the bridge is working. The frequency of your inner world always shifts first. The outer world is slower to catch up, like a reflection in a mirror that lingers a moment before showing the new image. Many people give up here, mistaking the lag as evidence that nothing is happening. They return to old patterns, re-enter the frequency of the past, and abandon the bridge. The secret is to remain loyal to your inner transformation even when the outer evidence has not yet appeared. To keep choosing the energy of your future self, even when your current circumstances tempt you back into fear. This is the sacred task of walking the frequency bridge, holding faith in the unseen until it crystallizes into the seen. Resistance often intensifies here. Old patterns flare up, as if making one last desperate attempt to pull you back into the safety of what you once knew. Doubts may grow louder, challenges may seem to multiply, but rather than signs of misalignment, these are signs of progress. They are the old frequency disintegrating, fighting for survival as you move toward coherence. When you honor this process, when you breathe through the discomfort, when you choose to act from your future identity, even in the face of delay, the bridge holds, and something remarkable begins to happen. Subtle signs of change appear, synchronicities multiply, conversations shift, opportunities unfold. Small confirmations that your outer world is beginning to reconfigure itself in response to your inner state. Living on the frequency bridge requires patience, but more importantly, it requires remembrance. Remembering that the outer always follows the inner. Remembering that the unseen is no less real than the seen. Remembering that you are not waiting for reality to change. You are becoming the change reality cannot help but reflect. And when the bridge completes its work, when enough consistency has been maintained, when enough coherence has been embodied, the outer suddenly transforms. What once felt impossible becomes ordinary. What once felt distant becomes your lived reality. And you realize that the bridge was not a punishment but a gift, the sacred space where you proved to yourself that you could live as your future before seeing it with your eyes. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of everything we've walked through together. You did not come to the end of this journey by accident. You were guided here. Every synchronicity, every nudge, every step of your path has led to this very moment. And the fact that you've stayed until now is the greatest evidence that something inside you has awakened, a part of you that has been waiting patiently, perhaps for years, for this recognition. You are not a victim of reality. You are reality, shaping itself in human form. Think back to where we began. Perhaps you thought you stumbled onto this by chance, that this video was just another suggestion from an algorithm. But look deeper. Can you feel that quiet certainty that your future self orchestrated this meeting? That some wiser, expanded version of you left breadcrumbs across time so that you would arrive here now, ready to remember who you truly are? That is not coincidence. That is destiny speaking. Throughout this journey, we dismantled the lie of classical reality, the illusion that you are powerless, that time is linear, that creation is hard. We revealed the truth of quantum reality, that your consciousness is the thread weaving past, present, and future into one living tapestry, that your future self is already alive in the field, broadcasting signals back to guide you. That what you've been taught to chase can never be forced, only remembered. This shift, from forcing to remembering, from waiting to embodying, from doubting to knowing, is not just a personal breakthrough. It is a turning point in the collective story of humanity, because every time one person awakens to their true power as a co-creator, the whole field shifts, the whole planet resonates higher. And now you stand as one of those catalysts. You are not just receiving wisdom, you are becoming the wisdom. But here is the challenge. The outer world might not yet reflect what you now know inside. This is the bridge, the space between what is and what will be. And it is here that many falter, returning to fear when evidence seems absent. Do not fall into that trap. Stay faithful to the frequency. Keep embodying the future even when the present lags behind. That is the proof of your awakening, to live as your future self before the evidence appears. And when you do, the evidence always comes. Now let's anchor this moment together. I want you to declare your alignment into the field. In the comments, type the number 111, a sacred code of alignment, a symbol of new beginnings, a declaration that you are no longer forcing but tuning, no longer doubting but remembering. Let it be your vibrational signature, your way of saying to the universe, I am ready, I am aligned, I am stepping fully into who I am meant to be. And if this message resonated with the deepest part of you, don't let this be the last time we connect. Subscribe now, not just to a channel, but to a movement, to a frequency, to a community of awakened souls walking this same path. By subscribing, you're saying yes to your future self, yes to the synchronicities that will continue to guide you, yes to staying connected with the wisdom that brought you here. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a new story, your story. The quantum field is listening. Your future self is cheering. The universe is ready to collaborate. The only question is, will you say yes?